no matter who you are, it could be the NFL, Amazon, IBM, Salesforce, I don't care. Some portion of all your email will go to the junk folder and spam folder. It's fact. Every time you press send on an email campaign is an opportunity to test something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be complex or sophisticated, because a lot of people hear that, like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have the infrastructure, I don't know how to do the setup. Listen, nobody does, right? All you want to do is, what did we do last time? Okay, let's try something else this time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Duct Tape Marketing Podcast. This is John Jantsch. My guest today is Jay Schwedelson. He's a leading marketing expert in the U.S. known for his research-backed approach. He's the founder of SubjectLine.com, a top-ranked free subject line rating tool, and has tested over 15 million subject lines. He's also founded Guru Media Hub, hosting the Guru Conference, the world's largest email marketing event, attracting over 50,000 attendees annually. So, Jay, welcome to the show.
Fired up to be here. Thanks for having me.
So your agency in your literature mentioned that you sent out over 6 billion email messages in the last year. So I have to ask, what'd you learn? What are you seeing as trends going on in email?
Yes, we do send out a lot of email. About half what we send out to consumer, half what we send out business. So we always are seeing new trends and new things. And I guess the thing I try to think about is getting that email open. People just don't realize the importance of that subject line. And so I think if people paid a little bit more attention to some of the small things that you can do to radically change the number of people opening up your emails, it can really improve the outcome and how you're using email.
Yeah. It's funny. I've been sending email for years, and I'm always puzzled by the fact you look at your stats and it's like, this email got 15% more opens in last same time of the week, same time of day. It's basically my newsletter subscribers. Why? And I'm guessing you have discovered that subject line just really has a lot to do with people opening.
Yeah, I'll give you some quick wins that you can do that literally cost you nothing. Take 3 seconds to do, and they really do have an impact. So, for example, if whatever you start your subject line with really matters, nobody actually reads the whole subject line. You could literally put the end of the subject line, Jay's a big loser, and no one knows see it because no one reads the whole thing, right? So what you put the first few characters matters. If you start your subject line with an actual number, right? The number 7, the 7 pitfalls to avoid, the 3 hottish fashion trends this winter, right? The 5 things every HR pro needs to know. It will just a number starting there will actually increase the percentage of people opening your email by about 15%. Why? Because it stands out a little bit. And when people are doing that social scroll in their inbox, like, oh, wait a minute, I'll take a look at this. And it's in the subconscious. Other things that help you stand out is when you fully capitalize the first word or 2 words in your subject line. Maybe it's the word new or just in or just released. And you capitalize every letter in those first word to 2 words. It works so well. And then other little things that work, which sounds ridiculous, is at the end of your subject line, putting the 3 dots, the ellipsis, something that all SMB owners need to know, just putting those 3 dots. We are inquisitive. Human beings are inquisitive. We need to know the answer to stuff. So using those 3 dots or using a question mark, it will lift the percentage of people opening our emails by a ton. So little things, big impact. That's what I'm all about.
How far can you take that? I mean, I get a lot of clickbaity ones, and they follow that formula. 5 things you should stop doing today. And then you get in there, it's like, these are like 5 things everybody talks about. I mean, so do you sometimes run the risk of being so intriguing with the subject line that you then don't deliver?
Well, that's a great point. You need to deliver, right? So the way email works is it's like links in a chain, right? You have a good subject line, and they decide to open it up. Then you have a really compelling headline. Okay, I'm going to now go a little bit further. Now you start to deliver on the promise that you made in that subject line, that headline, with whatever the bullets are or the offer that you made. And then you have a really compelling call to action button that doesn't say something horrible like register or download. It says something really good. And then you get them to that landing page or that destination page. And again, you take them through each step. So if you're not delivering on your initial promise that you made in that subject line, then you're wasting everybody's time. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Okay, I want to go back to something you just said, because I get a lot of emails that say download or register, in a button. What should they be saying?
So the secret sauce in email, when it comes to the buttons in your email, your call to action buttons, those rectangular things.
Yep.
If you write them in first person, you'll see an increased click-through rates by over 25%. What do I mean? So let's say you were promoting a webinar, okay? and you had two versions of your emails, and the buttons in one email said register, because that's what you want them to do.
Right.
But then the other ones that you're testing say, I want in, or register versus save my seat.
Yeah.
What sounds better to you? You get a little bit excited. Again, it's in the subconscious. Nobody actually gets excited, right? But you have to think about what is in it for the person, not what you want. You want them to register. You want them to download, right? You want them to download that piece of content. Instead of download is, yes, I want my free whatever report, right? You want the person to feel that they're part of the action. And instead of telling people what to do, get them involved with doing that thing. And it actually does matter. And all of these things cost you nothing, and they take 5 seconds.
Yeah. I always love the ones that right under it says, no, I don't want to have I don't want to be better looking and have a better sex life, or whatever it says.
Those work so well. You're 100% right. The negative ones do better than anything. It's phenomenal. Like I saw one for a newsletter the other day. It was, subscribe to this newsletter, and it says, no, I can't read. And I was like, it's amazing. I was like, that is amazing.
So you mentioned the testing word a couple times there. Should we be constantly A/B testing, or whatever format you use, subject lines, even, actual content? What's your take on testing?
Every time you press send on an email campaign is an opportunity to test something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be complex or sophisticated, because a lot of people hear that like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have the infrastructure. I don't know how to do the setup. Listen, nobody does, right? All you want to do is, what did we do last time? Okay, let's try something else this time. If that's the least that you could do and it's not scientific, that's okay. It's better than not trying something new. Every time you hit send, you should be testing something. The key thing about testing is you always want to make sure your tests are different enough. The problem a lot of people make is they go, okay, we're going to change this one little thing, right? This one image, this one little button. Your tests have to be really disparate from the last thing that you did, or else your small test changes equal small result changes. Significant changes equal significant result changes, even if it doesn't do as well. That's important too. So testing always.
All right. So another T word, timing. Used to always be like conventional wisdom was never send on a Friday, or always send on a Tuesday at 7. I mean, are there rules around timing?
That's a great point. It's so funny. Everybody follows the herd. So everyone used to be like, well, never send on a Monday or Friday because everyone's, upset that they're at work or they're looking forward to the weekend. It's not going to do well. So what did everybody do? Everybody collectively with one brain, they started sending on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which led to about 85% of all email being sent on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, which then led to everybody saying, oh, we should be sending on Monday and Fridays because nobody else is. And it's just unbelievable what we all do. But here's the way you really should be thinking about it. Is not all email is the same. And I think that's the problem in general. You have newsletters, you have promotional emails, you have transactional emails, you have all these different buckets. Okay. And so you need to find the right days and the right times for each of those things. So for example, newsletters, they do really well at the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, and early in the morning, 5 to 6 a.m. That's not going to do really well for your offer-based emails. Right? They're going to be maybe 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. And if you're on the consumer side, the weekend's going to be the best time for you. So the type of email you're sending is really important. And then in terms of how you're measuring everything, what you really want to do is almost think of yourself like as if you're a swimmer, right? You just want to be beating yourself. It's not, oh, what's my industry's average open rate or click-through rate? It's like, who cares? It's on my newsletter, I get an average open rate and click-through rate of this. And I tested this week and it did better than that. And I beat myself, and that's great. And on my promotional emails, I tried Wednesday instead of Thursday, and it went up from this to that. And you want to benchmark yourself and beat yourself. And that's how you'll find the right time and the right day and the right cadence.
Yeah. I've actually had some of my best commercial successes on Sunday nights, for business emails. And I think that's when a lot of times business folks are kind of collecting their thoughts for what's going to happen for the weekend.
Totally agree. Absolutely.
It's my pleasure to welcome a new sponsor to the podcast, our friends at ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign helps small teams power big businesses with a must-have platform for intelligent marketing automation. We've been using ActiveCampaign for years here at Duct Tape Marketing to power our subscription forms, email newsletters, and sales funnel drip campaigns. ActiveCampaign is that rare platform that's affordable, easy to use, and capable of handling even the most complex marketing automation needs. And they make it easy to switch. They provide every new customer with one-on-one personal training and free migrations from your current marketing automation or email marketing provider. You can try ActiveCampaign for free for 14 days, and there's no credit card required. Just visit ActiveCampaign.com/ducttape. That's right, Duct Tape Marketing Podcast listeners who sign up via that link will also receive 15% off an annual plan. That's ActiveCampaign.com/ducttape. Now, this offer is limited to new ActiveCampaign customers only. So, what are you waiting for? Fuel your growth, boost revenue, and save precious time by upgrading to ActiveCampaign today. Hey, digital marketers, this one's for you. I've got 30 seconds to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So here are a few things that you can do in 30 seconds or less when you manage projects on Wix Studio. Work in sync with your team all on one canvas. Reuse templates, widgets, and sections across sites. Create a client kit for seamless handovers. And leverage best-in-class SEO defaults across all your Wix sites. All right, time's up, but the list keeps going. Why don't you step into Wix Studio to see more? So let's talk about ESPs for a minute. They all pretty much have the same feature set, work the same. Is there something we should be considering? Should we be doing our own email servers? What's your take on ESPs in general?
Yeah, so ESPs, email sending providers, they are the platforms that everybody uses to send out their emails. It could be, the MailChimps, Constant Contact, HubSpot, Salesforce, you name it, right? Yeah. And first off, I don't believe anybody should be setting up their own mail servers in-house. Not because you can't do it, but you can't keep up with the changes, and it's impossible. It's just not worth the time, energy, or money. And these platforms are relatively inexpensive. So nobody actually loves their ESP. They just don't. So if you're like, oh, mine's not that great, I've never met a human being who's like, oh my God, the best ESP. That's not a thing. It's some version of okay, not great. Yeah. That being said, what should you be thinking
early
about?
Early days, people loved MailChimp. I will say that, though. Well, they had some rabid followers. Not so much anymore because they're big and bought, but anyway.
You're right. No, you're right. Early on, there were a handful of people like, oh my God, this is so cool. But now everybody, I don't know. I just feel like everyone gets frustrated. And they also have unrealistic expectations. Here's a secret that people don't realize. No matter who you are, it could be the NFL, Amazon, IBM, Salesforce, I don't care. Some portion of all your email will go to the junk folder and spam folder. It's fact. But people get frustrated when they send out an email like, oh, someone went to junk. My ESP must stink or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And that's just not true. But what I would the advice I would give when you're thinking about your ESP is different ESPs are good at different things, right? So if you are doing direct-to-consumer email marketing, there are certain platforms that are really good for direct-to-consumer email marketing. If you are doing B2B, B2B SaaS company selling like accounting software to enterprise-level contacts, there are ESPs that are focused on making sure their email deliverability to enterprise-level business-to-business organizations is spot on. If you're marketing to education professionals or government professionals, different ESPs have different specialties. And the reason they specialize is they know how to navigate getting the emails into these organizations, into these things. So you really want to make sure whoever you're going to be working with, what is their roster of clients? Do they look like you? Are they in the same market that you are? Because if they're not, you're probably using the wrong platform.
And we could go way deep into the servers and why they get whitelisted and all those kind of good things. But talk a little bit about the connection between email and landing pages. A lot of people are just sending out generic stuff. Maybe they send you to a website, but a lot of times we're sending out offers. Hopefully that offer is going to a specific landing page. Talk about the relationship of those two elements.
Yeah, it's everything. I'll tell you one big fat mistake that everybody makes is that about 19% of all click-throughs and emails, regardless of what they're promoting, are clicks on the logo within your email. Nobody ever thinks about that. And I would bet the overwhelming majority of people have their logo traffic going to their homepage and not the offer destination page, not the landing page. That is 1 in 5 clicks. Okay. Wow. The other thing that people do is they stick social sharing links at the bottom of their emails because that's their format. But here you are, you have an offer. When you have an offer, all you're hoping for is that offer gets taken advantage of. You're not hoping for more people to follow you on Instagram. You're not hoping people click on your logo, go to your homepage. So take every conduit to response and send them to that landing page. That's where you want them to go, right? And then when they get to that landing page, think about everything. Okay. If somebody is filling out your form, are the fields laid out horizontally or vertically? Because vertically is going to do way better, okay, than horizontally. Are you asking too many must-fill fields? Yes. If you're asking somebody's zip code, do you really need their state potentially, right? And make sure that on that landing page, you also have some kind of social proof that you put right near that final submit button, right? Where it says a quote or a testimonial from anybody at anything. These are the most comfortable socks ever. This is the accounting software that changed our company. One final testimonial right near that final button increases the conversion rate significantly because it's the last validation step. It's that last thing for people to feel like, you know what? I feel comfortable doing this. So there are little things on your landing page that radically can change the outcome of your performance.
Yeah, what always drives me crazy is people who use templated stuff, and so it'll have their whole navigation on the top. It's like,
oh, don't do that.
What's the one thing you want the person to do when they get here? Remove everything else.
Exactly right.
Let's talk about list hygiene. You've been doing this for a while. We all know that, I don't know what the statistics are, but I remember hearing at some point, 10 to 15% of your list goes bad, but every 90 days or something like that. And if you're not cleaning it up, you really ruin your reputation. Talk about not just how important it is, but let's just agree it's important. And kind of what's your approach to keeping a list clean?
Yeah. So the attrition rate annually is going to be at least 20% for your database. You'll lose about 20% of your database. Yeah. And a whole other topic we can get into is being intentional about growing your list. Because if you're not intentional about growing your list, you'll have no list within a few years. Yeah. But in terms of data hygiene, if you are not at least once a year, I like to recommend twice a year, using a email validation service, and there's a zillion of them, right? And passing your data through an email validation service to look for spam traps, to look for problematic email addresses, you are on a path to total failure and horrible deliverability. And a lot of these services are super inexpensive.
Yeah.
And you need to be doing this. It's like not going to the dry cleaner. If you have a suit and you've worn it 10 times, eventually you got to bring the thing to the dry cleaner because it's going to be a problem. That's how you should be viewing your database.
And some ESPs are going to say, hey, Jay, you've been getting X amount of bounces, clean it up or no more, right? And so what should we be doing? All right, that's once a year. What should we be doing monthly? Like, I mentioned bounces. Hard bounces should just be immediately taken care of?
Well, yeah, so when you send out an email, some percentage is going to bounce. And there's really two kinds of bounces. There's hard bounces and soft bounces. And any platform, you're going to be able to receive the breakout of those two things. A hard bounce must immediately be taken off your list because when you send out to your email database and you have hard bounces, the receiving email infrastructures that are out there, the Gmails and Yahoos and Outlooks and Comcast, all that stuff, when they see you trying to deliver to hard bounces, they think that you are a bad sender. They think that you are not caring about your database. And that is when they will flag you. That is when you'll go to spam and junk, is for not removing your hard bounces. So immediately remove those. And soft bounces, your ESP, you should make sure there's a routine set up that after 3 soft bounces, they get put on the sideline as well. That's generally a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. Let's talk about the future. And pretty much every conversation I've been having, although we're 16 minutes and 52 seconds into this recording, and this is the first mention of AI, but I will mention, what's the impact of AI on email, sending, personalization, all the things?
Yeah, we have big changes coming in 2025, massive. So Apple is about to roll out iOS 18 at the end of 2024. And in this rollout, they're going to be making major changes to the mail app on our phones. That's the little blue icon that we all use to check our mail. About 47% of people check their mail, regardless of what email address, business, consumer, doesn't matter. They use that mail app on their phone to check their email. In iOS 18, they're going to be rolling out Apple Intelligence, which is Apple's AI tools. And they are, for the first time, going to be within our email inboxes on our phones, using AI, bucketing our emails into 4 different buckets. So they're going to be taking our email as we are receiving them. They're going to have primary, they're going to have promotional, they're going to have updates. And so basically, if you're sending out a promotional email, it's not just going to go in the regular inbox anymore. It's going to go in this promotions tab. And so the game's going to be, how do we write our emails? How do we construct our emails to give us the best chance to show up in the tab that we want to show up in? So that's going to be all AI driven. And so there's going to be a lot to learn as 2025 unfolds.
What about security and privacy? More and more it seems like, although it seems like when GDPR was coming around, the sky was falling. It seems now that while people are talking about it, it's not with the same panic. Do you see more and more privacy and security things impacting email?
In the United States especially, it's really relegated to what the platforms decide, what Gmail decides, what Apple decides, what these guys decide, because we have not had any federal privacy legislation as relates to email since 2003, CAN-SPAM, which is the weakest law you could possibly imagine. Now,
no enforcement either.
Yeah, no enforcement, right? There's a patchwork of different state laws, but those are also all over the map. I mean, Canada has Castle and Europe has GDPR, and those are really viable laws related to email. So really the things to keep an eye on in terms of privacy is, what is Gmail making us do? What is Apple making us do? Because that's going to be really what we have to follow. There's not going to, and in the foreseeable future, there's not going to be any federal legislation related to email.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I appreciate you stopping by the Duct Tape Marketing Podcast and talking a little bit about email. Is there someplace you'd invite people to connect with you and find out more about your work?
Sure. So I got my own podcast too. It's called Do This, Not That for marketers. You can check that out. I do 4 episodes every week, 10 minutes each. So that's fun. And then I'm always on LinkedIn. I post way too much stuff there. So connect with me, drop me a DM on LinkedIn. Would love to hear from you. And you could also just go to jayschwedelson.com, my full name, and you can find everything you want to know about me right there.
Plus, you can always play around with the free subjectline.com app as well, or tool as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah. So thanks again. Hopefully we'll run into you one of these days out there on the road, Jay.
I was like, I found it. This is what I've been looking for. I can honestly say has genuinely changed the way I run my business. It's changed the results that I'm seeing. It's changed my engagement with clients. It's changed my engagement with the team. I couldn't be happier. Honestly, it's the best investment I ever made.
What you just heard was a testimonial from a recent graduate of the Duct Tape Marketing Certification Intensive Program for fractional CMOs, marketing agencies, and consultants. Just like them, you can use our system to move from vendor to trusted advisor, attract only ideal clients, and confidently present your strategies to build monthly recurring revenue. Visit dtm.world/scale to book your free advisory call and learn more. It's time to transform your approach. Book your call today, dtm.world/scale.